What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, December 9th, 2019, start of a brand new week here. And we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on there with your comments, questions, and opinions. Remember, we have gone back to the rule that says one call per caller per day. And if you could keep the calls short and to the point, it would be greatly appreciated, because I got a lot of emails regarding the phone calls we were getting last week, describing some of them as squirrels that just seem to want to get on the phone line and hear themselves talk. So, short and to the point, one call per caller per day. All righty, getting on into the news. The Michael Horowitz IG report finally came out today, and basically he came on out and he said he found serious errors, but he debunks the idea that there was a deliberate bias by the FBI against President Trump. Now, the IG report does confirm that Brennan lied through his teeth about the Steele dossier, so there's a lot of information in there, and of course everybody is looking at the IG report, and they're putting their own particular spin on it, and they're saying, well, it means this, it means that, and so forth. But the impeachment abuse expands. Schiff has been implicated in the phone record spying misconduct. The coup against President Trump can still be stopped in the House, and the FBI has found more Clinton emails. So what's going on right now is we're seeing the Democrats trying to change the Constitution. They're trying to change the standard of impeachment, and they're literally changing the rules to fit their theatrical story. Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler wrote in the preface that the previous report on grounds for impeachment offenses in the Nixon and Clinton eras remained useful points of reference, but no longer reflect the best available leaning on questionings regarding the presidential impeachment. So they're out there trying to find something out there. Well, why is Jerry doing this? Because they have no evidence for legitimate grounds for impeachment. This only proves that President Trump indeed does not belong in the ranks of Nixon and Clinton, where there was actually evidence of impeachable offenses. Now, John Solomon is out there saying that the IG report lays out incontrovertible evidence that the Obama administration, the Obama FBI, misled the FISA court. So it's definitely out there here. And apparently the Democrats' new approach is that even though President Trump didn't actually break the law, he surely intended to, and therefore he's guilty and needs to be impeached and removed from office. That's the new Democrat position. You know, that there was an intent to do wrong by the president, and therefore he must be impeached. That's really a bit of a stretch out there. It's a bit of a reach here. And apparently, Representative Collins told Maria he's calling for a delay in the scheduled Monday morning impeachment hearings after Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler dumped a myriad of new documents on Republican lawmakers Saturday night, just hours before the first scheduled impeachment hearing on Monday morning. So it was a major document dump, and they're out there, you know, just trying to throw enough information out there, again, to just say, you know, Trump did something. He meant to do something, and we've got to impeach. Now, probably a lot of you aren't really watching the impeachment hearings, and you're hardly alone in that. CNN's ratings have plummeted to the lowest primetime viewership in almost 3 years. People are just sick and tired of this whole impeachment nonsense. And they definitely, they're tuning it out. Now, Cruz has gone full force on NBC's Todd, saying impeachment is a kangaroo court. And he's absolutely right about that. Now, over at William Barr, he has indicted 8 people, including Mueller's top witness, for funneling millions in foreign donations to Adam Schiff, Hillary Clinton, and top Senate Democrats. So we are getting some indictments out there for basically illegal campaign donations here. All right, there's a new poll out there showing 3 more moderate Democrats are facing a defeat on the impeachment vote, at least 6 total. So they're running out of room, as it were. And it's not going to take very many more for this whole thing to just fall apart. All right, we're going to do a shout out now to our honor affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. The Department of Justice catches the Democratic Party in a multi-million-dollar illegal foreign campaign donation scheme. And basically, yeah. It's a multi-million-dollar illegal foreign campaign donation scheme. And apparently, George Nadler was indicted for his involvement in the illegal campaign contributions from foreign entities to the Hillary campaign back in 2016. So they're finding a lot of crime and corruption out there, just not with Donald Trump. And it's rather amazing that this information, these crimes, are being ignored by the corporate media and basically being ignored by prosecutors. Now, for some reason today, they're making a big deal over the fact that Donald Trump, when he has guests over for dinner, for working lunches, that he has an oversized set of salt and pepper shakers, how they tower over everyone else's, while Obama, Bush, and Clinton use the same size shakers as their guests. I think they're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill here. And they're saying this is one of Trump's power moves alongside his fierce handshakes and bulky suits. And I think it's a great deal of nothing to make a big deal about this. I mean, I saw a photo. They weren't that big. I mean, just like a lot of salt and pepper. Okay, last month, over 100 Democratic House members signed a letter that decried the Trump administration's policy shift on the West Bank settlements. The letter was initiated by Representative Andy Levin and was sent to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. On November 18th, Pompeo announced that the U.S. government was abandoning a 1978 State Department legal opinion that determined that settlement expansion in the occupied territories were in violation of international law. And just a day after Pompeo's announcement that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu advanced a bill that would annex the Jordan Valley. So there's a lot going over there. And a lot of people are saying this was a bad move on Trump's part, and it was. It's definitely a part. Now, a lot of people are talking about the quid pro quo. Was there a quid pro quo? And apparently, Mike Pompeo had a quid pro quo for Sheldon Adelson, because Mike Pompeo is getting ready to run for office, and Sheldon Adelson is one of his big donors now. And so Mike Pompeo is trying to do him favors. All right, we're going to go ahead and grab ourselves a phone call from Murr in Wisconsin. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi. Hey, I was just looking at that on your site before you talked about it, the salt shakers, salt and pepper shakers. And I see it's Rex Tillerson, so they're grabbing back in time. He hasn't been there for a while. But of course he should have something different than everyone else. How else? They can't, another way they can't switch up poison on him, right?
That's a good point. That's a very, very good point.
Yeah, well, that's all I wanted to say, but I just thought it was very peculiar. You know, they're just grabbing at everything. Nadler won't let them say, even though it's been said for 200 years plus, right? Um, how's it under God? So help me God. He deleted that and wouldn't let them put it in the swearing in.
Yes.
They're a bunch of godless ghouls. I'm sorry.
Well, I think it's just
anyway.
plain silly. I mean, I concede your point that having a different set of salt shakers, salt pepper shakers, makes it more difficult for somebody to try and poison the president. But for them to make a big deal about it in the first place, I think it's rather absurd.
Well, they're desperate because they are going to be brought in and held accountable. It just has to happen. We've all had enough, and they're just showing themselves. If people can't see that, they really need to get away from the Talmudia and listen to Mike Rivero and RBN.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have snow?
Not yet, but we should be getting it very soon.
Yeah, I had a squall come through here. I don't know if we're going to get more or not, but temperature's supposed to drop nice extreme tonight. Is that happening there too? Below zero again?
No, it's actually been about 45, 50 here. But
yeah,
it's dropping though. It is definitely dropping.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure this year's going to be a lot of extremes, but they won't last that long, you know. So you'll have warm in between the cold. So just make us stronger.
Absolutely.
How's Claire doing?
Claire's fine. She's in the other room right now. You know, doing what she does. And you know, we're getting our house, you know, kind of set up, and we still have a lot of things to hang up and, you know, put on the wall and whatnot. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. Well, you sound a little shaky there. What's going on?
Well, I'm a little bit under the weather, and so.
Hey, you remember what I told you about comfrey?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I dry comfrey for me and catnip for the kitty, so we have our little crispy treats every day.
Well, that's always good. I'm in the process of having to deal with a doctor and get some checkups done, and you know, just, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. That drains you of energy, it seems like, you know, wondering what are they going to do to me this time, you know, and what machine or what pill or what.
Yeah.
It's kind of disgusting. And I must admit, I haven't been to a doctor in decades. I don't do doctors.
Well,
I don't do dentists either. I chew up some vitamin D3 with some coconut oil, and, you know, even though I have a couple teeth that are, you know, they don't hurt. So they help me chew up nuts better.
Okay.
You know, and eyes, you can do different exercises and things. You know, you really don't need the doctors. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm afraid in this case I do. And I'm not looking forward to it. But, you know, they're going to do some more tests on me. And
can you say anything else on air about it, or not really?
Not really.
Well, I'll pray for you anyway.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, we're going to switch over to Miles in Maine. Aloha, Miles. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Miles, are you there?
Yeah, are you there, Michael?
Yeah, I'm here. You're on the air.
Yeah. So first of all, I'd like to wish you some good health, and I hope you can resolve your issues to satisfaction. It's not fun to hear that you're not feeling well, so all our best wishes to you.
Thank you.
What I wanted to ask is, if Pompeo, if this is coming out like this, and this is factual and there's nothing to it, wouldn't it be wise of Trump at this point to show, and also would show the Democrats too, by removing Pompeo and replacing him with somebody especially who would be more competent?
I think it would probably be a really good idea, but Trump has a tendency to kind of hang on to people, and just not let them go. And he should. I mean, he's let a few people go. But
Yeah,
Pompeo,
we saw that. We saw that with Sessions, but that's my second comment. Isn't it amazing that this guy in less than a year has done more than Sessions did in 2.5 years in a few months?
yeah, it is. And, Pompeo definitely, he's got his own agenda out there, and we got to keep an eye on him.
Well, that's, I am so happy that at least Barr didn't pass the buck. I mean, at least you can say, hey, he's out there with some indictments, and where they go from here, who knows? But Mike, once again, I want to wish you and Claire some good health and Christmas cheer, and I hope everything just works out for both of you guys health-wise. And you go ahead and have a great day and a great show, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. And, Claire's medical thing is doing really well. She had a couple of cataract surgeries, and she is seeing quite well. In fact, she even got out and did some driving over the weekend. So,
wow, that's great news.
Yeah, it is. And
well, we're going to keep praying for you guys anyway, Mike. We're going to keep praying for you, and we'll hope you have some fantastic Christmas holidays.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, and I appreciate the prayers. And we're going to let you go and get on back here to some news. Apparently, Prince Andrew is now out of the royal family forever amid this Jeffrey Epstein crisis, where he's basically not going to be allowed to come back and do any of his royal duties. So he's definitely there. It's now come on out that Bill Clinton was on numerous Epstein flights where underage girls were dressed like candy stripers. So it was definitely getting kinky out there. Meanwhile, Harvey Weinstein is in serious trouble. They want to increase his cash bond to $5 million. Apparently, he's been taking off his ankle monitoring system more than 50 times. And so prosecutors are saying we need to, make sure that he's on the bond. Now, Weinstein's defense attorneys responded that the so-called violations were just technical glitches and questioned why prosecutors did not red flag the issue back in September or October as it was happening. So I think Harvey's just, wanted to do what Harvey Weinstein wants to do. Anyway, so Prince Andrew will not see a return to the public duties in the royal family for eternity as the palace struggles to manage the crisis. And it's a big, big mess over there. All right, international support is growing for the BDS movement. European Union countries are taking steps toward boycotting the Israeli apartheid system, using its legal, legislative, and parliamentary institutions to oppose the occupation. This is coming from the Palestine News Network. The EU condemned the Trump administration's positions and policies carried out in the Palestinian territory occupied by Israel since 1967, especially in Jerusalem regarding the Israeli settlements and the two-state solution. Now, supposedly, our Congress is getting ready to vote on the two-state solution, and we'll see what's going to happen there. But obviously, Israel wants a one-state solution where they basically own it all. Within this context, the EU Supreme Court has approved labeling Israeli goods produced in the settlements built in the Palestinian territories and exported to the EU. It should also be noted that the EU always asserts the settlements are illegal and are an obstacle for achieving peace. Okay, we're going to take a break here for some commercials, and we'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to take a phone call. Chance in West Virginia. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. You know, that nonsense with the royal family, it's laughable. It's all for public consumption. Do you realize that Prince Charles was close friends with Jimmy Savile, that mass pedophilia guy, for over 40 years? And there were no repercussions taken against Prince Charles. This is all for public consumption, don't you think?
Well, you know, the royal family is very concerned about its public image because there are a lot of people in Great Britain who think that it's time for the royals to go away. And scandals like this do not help the situation.
I think it's just a deflection. They want people to, in order to maintain their so-called reputation, they're trying to distance themselves from him. That's all. I don't think behind the scenes there's any real change. That's all I have to say now, Michael. Feel better.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. Now, apparently the German government has announced it ordered 2 employees of the Russian embassy in Berlin to leave the country. And it was meant to show that Berlin was unhappy with Moscow's response to a German investigation into a high-profile killing of a Georgian man, which happened on its soil back in August. Berlin said Russia was not doing enough to assist the probe. So, responding to the news on Wednesday, the Russian Foreign Ministry said it considered the German move unjustified and unfriendly, and that it demonstrated an unacceptable politicized approach to the investigation. So they're getting a little tense over there. Now, Putin has come on out saying that NATO's approach to the Russian borders threatens security. And his concern, obviously, is that NATO is deploying their forces near Russia's border. And Russia's not very happy with that. They think that NATO needs to be staying away, sort of minding its own business. And there was a time when NATO really was keeping itself back, holding back from the border, but now that seems to be going away. And there is no Warsaw Pact, but NATO not only exists, but is also developing. At the time of its creation, the alliance included 12 countries, now has 29, and the total military spending of the alliance represents more than 70% of world spending. It's getting really, really serious. Apparently, there's another sore point with Russia in that the U.S. is talking about restricting Russia's access to the SWIFT international payment banking system. And according to Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev, that basically means a declaration of war. Now, we know that Russia and some of these other countries have already stepped away from SWIFT, but obviously this is a move that is going to anger Russia, and they're saying there would, in fact, be a declaration of war, but nevertheless, it was discussed and said this is one of the reasons why the government is looking into ways to protect the Russian part of the internet. So now Russia is ready to extend a new START arms control treaty without conditions and further discussions. This is coming from Putin. And Moscow is ready to extend the last major nuclear arms control treaty without conditions or discussions, Putin said, as he reiterated Russia's position on the new START treaty, which expires in 2021. He says Russia is ready to immediately start as soon as possible before the end of the year, extend the new START treaty without any preconditions so there'd be no double, triple interpretation of our position later. He's saying this is an official statement. Now, the START Treaty obligates Moscow and Washington to reduce the number of its strategic nuclear missile launchers by half. It was originally signed in April 2010, and the agreement expires on February 2021, but there's an option for it to be extended until 2025, which I think would be a really, really good idea. Okay, we're going to take another phone call. Mark in North Carolina, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Hey, look, I hope you're feeling all right. I see your voice sounds a little funny.
Yeah.
You okay?
Well, I'm a little bit under the weather, but, I'm going to go see the doctor and get fixed up.
All right. Anyway, hey, look, I just want to talk about this thing with Russia, what you just said.
Okay, can I put you on hold?
Oh, sure.
All right, I'm going to put you on hold. We'll be right back after these words. Hello, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Mark in North Carolina. We're talking about how Russia is basically arming up. They're very concerned about NATO being near their borders, and it's a very scary situation.
Mike?
Yes, you're on the air.
Yeah. I'm just saying, what's going on with we got madmen running our country today, Mike. I mean,
Yes.
You see with these impeachment hearings, they're starting stuff with a nuclear power. The other, at least at the least, they're the second most powerful nation in the world. In many ways, they are the most powerful nation in the world. Okay, especially in that area of the world, and they have the means to obliterate us, and we have the means to obliterate them, and the rest of the planet with it. Obviously, these madmen in charge don't even think anymore of the consequences of the nuclear war. They, back in the time of the Cold War, at least people thought about that. Thank God JFK thought about that when we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. And we had two level-headed leaders facing each other, JFK and Khrushchev. If JFK had listened to somebody like that mad bomber there, the Air Force General, what was his name, Curtis LeMay,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have a viable planet to live on today. That's how serious that was. Now, what happens if we have something like that today? And anything could trigger it off. If we're right on their border and stuff, a little border skirmish can turn into the Third World War. That's how serious that is. I just don't understand these people. The problem with Trump, the very least you could say about him right now, is he's cowed because of the impeachment hearings. And that's one of the things I think is behind all this garbage, is because they want to keep the man cowed. He's afraid. He's afraid the Republicans are going to turn on him. Okay? Because this whole thing, if you listen to any of it, I listened to a little bit of it just to get an idea what's happening, and then I make my own YouTube videos on it. You can see it's all about Russia. Russia.
Yes.
And it's just a frightening thing. I don't know what it is with these Jewish neocons either. Today he had, of all people, the son of Goldman Sachs. What is it? The heir to Goldman Sachs there, Daniel Sachs.
Yes.
I mean, what is it with these people? I mean, they're going to call. I told you the other day, I think I'm a very conspiratorial-minded person, okay? I think there is some kind of a conspiracy with elite Jews, mostly, top Zionist types, and also Christian Zionists, to force Jews basically to leave the United States and Europe and other places and move to Israel. This way that, their prophecies come true. Christian Zionists believe that that's what's necessary before Armageddon, which could come before anything like that, God forbid. And they have their Armageddon, and then it's time that Jesus returns in his throne, and everything will be hunky-dory. It won't be hunky-dory because there won't be a planet left for Jesus to come back to, except maybe radioactive waste. And you got the Jews, those crazy. I'm talking about the really crazy ones. and I think Kushner is one of them, that think their Messiah is going to come back. I guess it's that Rabbi Schneerson or somebody like that, you know?
Yes.
And this is the kind of garbage that's now governing this country today and has so much influence. You see it with Pompeo. You see it with Kushner. You see it, I believe Pence is one of them also. They're gonna kill us all, Mike. That's what this is coming to. Okay? They're gonna wipe out this planet. You talk about global warming. Global warming isn't a threat, unless, I'll tell you what, nuclear war would be global warming. Because what would it be, like 10,000 degrees above Fahrenheit or something? At the,
Yes.
ground zero. And of course, you have nuclear winter after that. Nothing would survive. Maybe a few insects and maybe some rats. Rat is a very hardy creature, really. Maybe some rats. That's about it. That's going to be a planet. What are we going to do to stop these people? What are we going to do? How are we going to get these people out of office? How are we going to get somebody reasonable or some people reasonable to run this country? Do you have any ideas, Mike? Because I'm running out of ideas. I don't know. I'm trying, that's why I started my own YouTube channel. I'm not making any money out of it. I don't expect to make any money out of it. But I want to pass information. They cut me off of Twitter, so, I'm trying something. But, of course, I'm one person in a country of 320 million. Just like you. You got a bigger voice than I do because, your radio station, but you only got so many people listening to you, too. So this seems like we are headed for Armageddon. Okay? And it's not that God wants it either. People don't understand. They're blaspheming God, the God that I believe in. I believe in a loving God, a just and loving God. Okay? I don't believe that just and loving God wants us to blow up this beautiful planet that he gave us. And, Mother Nature is kind of his agent to run it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I think these people are crazy. I'll be honest with you. The entire, Abrahamic religion, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, they all have their share of fanatics. Maybe it would be better to have somebody like Tulsi who's a Hindu. Because I think the Hindus are more peaceful as a whole, not completely, than the Abrahamic religion. The Buddhists also. They believe more in nature. They're more peaceful. Many of them are vegetarians. I think, as a matter of fact, vegetarianism is part of Hinduism.
Yes.
Maybe it would be better. Maybe really she could bring some kind of peace to this world. Because I don't know. Because this is just getting out of control, Mike. I just don't think we have people that are, I think you have these religious fanatics. And on top of that, I believe you have people probably on psych medication. Psych meds. And that's who's running this country, Mike. And it's probably running Great Britain also, and it's running France, most of the Western countries. Actually, Putin is the only rational being in a whole bunch. Thank God he is, because we might have already destroyed each other by now, if that was the case. They got this guy, I think it's Sharanovsky, something, Yatsky, whatever. The guy's kind of out there. I remember him, even before Putin, and they were worried that he's the kind of guy that said, "You want missiles? I give you a missile. I give you nuke. I give you nuke." He's that type of guy.
Yeah.
That's if we had somebody like that right now, I think it'd be all over. I really do. I really do, Mike. Well, that's it. I'll listen to what you have saying. Hey, listen, feel better, okay, buddy?
All right. I definitely will here. Okay, Moscow is getting ready to rearm all Arctic units with the S-400 missile to create an anti-missile dome over the Russian Arctic. And so all anti-aircraft regiments of Russia's Northern Fleet will be equipped with state-of-the-art S-400 air defense systems in the next few years to create an anti-missile dome able to thwart any enemy incursion, according to the Russian Navy. So the Russian anti-aircraft missile forces and radio technical troops stationed in the Arctics are going to go through a comprehensive rearmament process that sees Russia's most advanced long-range air defense missile system being delivered to them. This is coming from Vice Admiral Alexander Moisev, the commander of Russia's Northern Fleet. All Russian military units in the region are set to be equipped with S-400s over the coming years. The buildup will protect the Russian part of the Arctic with what Moiseev calls a de facto anti-missile dome, effectively impenetrable for any type of weaponry, including enemy aircraft, cruise, and ballistic missiles. So they're definitely arming up there, and they're putting up the missile shields. And it is a very, very scary situation, as Mark was saying here. Over in France, they're in the middle of this major, major protest. Paris is on lockdown. They're expecting all heck to break loose, and war is expected on the streets. It's a very intense situation over there. Over in the Congo, millions die while the UN keeps the peace. And the UN peacekeeping mission in Congo has 18,000 troops. It's the largest in the world, and it's been in the Congo for 20 years without protecting the people or the peace. A young protester in Beni told Al Jazeera the UN is supposed to keep us safe, to keep peace in North Kivu, but we've never seen the peace. So we are so angry, we don't want them to stay here in North Kivu. So, down in Mexico, there's a lot of tension regarding the cartel violence. And Donald Trump has attempted to designate the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. An attack uncomfortably close to U.S. soil has the Mexican government scrambling and the president fuming. At least 22 died over the weekend as rival cartels struggling for northern Mexico turf dominance clash with local law enforcement in Villa Union, Coachella, an hour's drive from Eagle Pass, Texas. The brazen attack seemingly was directed at the Mexican government to send a warning as to who is in charge. Well, Trump has now changed his direction, and apparently he's come to an agreement with the Mexican administration to ramp up Mexico's efforts to combat the cartels. Should be sort of a good one. Now, last week we had a couple of incidents. One was at Pearl Harbor, and this was on the 5th, where a U.S. Navy sailor shot dead 2 civilian workers at the Pearl Harbor military base before turning the gun on himself, sending the home of the Pacific Fleet into lockdown. If we'd still been living there, we probably would have heard the gunfire, because it's just down the hill from us. So this U.S. Navy sailor shot and killed 2 civilian Department of Defense employees before taking his own life. Now, that was just one. There's been another shooting at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola, and this unfolded at the U.S. Navy base when a gunman opened fire at the Naval Air Station Pensacola, killing at least 2 people and wounding several others. Now, it turns out this guy was a Saudi trainee pilot. And so the FBI is presuming that the shooting at the Naval Air Station Pensacola was an act of terrorism, although no motive has been identified. But Mohammed Ashrami, a 21-year-old second lieutenant in the Royal Saudi Air Force and a student naval flight officer, opened fire on Friday in a classroom building. And Al-Shrami was killed after 2 deputies exchanged gunfire with him. So Ashrami's motive for the attack is still undetermined. Investigators want more information on Ashrami's time back in Saudi Arabia for his return this year, according to law enforcement. So the shooting is over, according to the Escambia County, Florida Sheriff's Office, and the shooter is dead. So, little tense there. Now, up in Alaska, there's been another collision. 9 people were hurt, including 1 critically, when a U.S. Coast Guard vessel collided with a U.S. Navy boat off of Alaska's Kodiak Island. So, once again, we have these naval vessels colliding with each other. Alrighty, apparently there's a lot more interest in Iran. The U.S. is getting ready to send 74,000 U.S. troops, and there's this strange coincidence of renewed unrest in Iraq, mainly from Sadr City, where the surprising turn of the U.S. screw was the turn of Muqtada al-Sadr for Saudi, the United States CIA, and for Israel and Iraq. Now, the split seems to have occurred since 2009, when the Mahdi army was militarily defeated in Iraq. Armed militias such as Isaib al-Haq, instrumental in defeating ISIS at Anbar and aligned with Iran, openly fought Sadr's men at times. The result was that al-Sadr was forcibly set adrift by Iran, and it appears Sadr chose to preserve his own hide rather than preserve his honor. So it got kind of intense over there. And let's see. Alrighty. According to Foreign Minister Zarif, it appears that Israel has conducted the test of a nuclear missile aimed at Iran. And Iran is understandably upset. But apparently Israel launched this missile, and Iran says it's nuclear capable. All right, so let's talk about the economic news here a little bit. UK household debt sees big increases. This includes rising mortgages in Great Britain, according to the Office for National Statistics. Debts, including credit card debt and personal loans, rose 11% to $119 billion in the 2 years to March 2018, according to the ONS study, which is published every 2 years. Average household financial debt rose 9% to £9,400. And much of the increase is a result of higher student loan and higher purchase debt. Not doing well at all. Article coming on out of Investment Watch blog. Is a global crash just around the corner? Central banks are cutting at the fastest rate since the financial crisis began. Another article here says, despite talk of a global uptick, the indicators on global trade are all pointing down. And we're seeing a commercial break here. And join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. You were just talking about the slowdown that's coming.
Yes.
It's got to slow. I mean, the world is now $250 trillion in debt. That is just insane. I mean, what does it really mean? You know?
It means that everybody's out of money.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so when this sort of thing happens, all it does is it just proves that, number one, this is a joke, and we live in a debt-based monetary system where there's no way out. Debt will always increase. Number two, CPI, anything that measures inflation, is an absolute lie. And number three, and this is my favorite, that minimum wage, or even wages in general, except for the elite, they haven't even kept up remotely close to what inflation is actually at. So, it's just, I mean, this is pathetic. I think in 2008, global debt was sitting at around 100 and something trillion.
Yes.
From what I can find, as the years go by, it's harder and harder to find this information. It's almost like done on purpose. We don't really know, but it's just out of hand. There's no paying this back. It's not possible. As a matter of fact, I mean, they don't even want it paid back. They just want it serviced into perpetuity. Otherwise, the spigot gets closed for a lot of the rich folk. Right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I've been saying it a long time, and I've lived my life for like this a long time. I don't go into debt. I don't take out loans. I don't use a credit card other than, like one for PayPal, because you have to have it in order to even sign up. But, I mean, you always say it too. If if you can afford to pay off your debt sooner, do it. Go without that other pair of jeans, or, whatever trinket you think is necessary to carry on your everyday life. It's not necessary. Living in debt is just an awful, horrible feeling. It's like having a noose around your neck. It's awful. Right? And speaking of PayPal, I mean, I'm having a little bit of trouble with them right now, where one of my accounts got switched over, and so I'm trying to, go through the confirmation process again. But when I do, Mike, I'll be sending you something for Christmas, because you and Claire, you guys do a fantastic job, above and beyond, any kind of moral responsibility to anyone out there whatsoever, except yourself. And I'm hoping that your listeners are listening right now and will consider doing the same thing, because after all, you're doing us a great service with your show, and you allow us to call in and voice our opinions. It's free speech. I appreciate it, Mike.
All right. Well, Al, we've got to let you go here. We got to take a break for station identification, and we'll be back with another phone call after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to take another phone call. Darlene from Pennsylvania. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Mike. What I have to say is, the people in Washington, even if they get arrested for what they have done to our country, all they're going to get is slap on the hand, and they're going to go to a country club jail. Why not put them in a regular jail and make them do the hard time like it would be another American? That's Native American.
Very
and
good
I believe
question.
They should be punished.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Because, they go to these country club jails.
The crooks are investigating the crooks.
My husband say the crooks are investigating the crooks.
Yes.
So, they're going to get slapped on hand. They need more. And another thing I wanted to tell you, since you are in Indiana,
yes,
in the wintertime, put cayenne pepper, like the pepper you use, cayenne, in your shoes, and your feet will not get cold, even if you wear tennis shoes. Guarantee.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I mean, Claire's got these shoes called Uggs, which are very warm, and I bought a set of what are called Mickey Mouse boots, which are definitely designed for Arctic weather. So I think we're pretty much set.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you go because you got many more want to talk.
All right.
Goodbye.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're going to let you go here. And getting on back to the news here, we're getting to the economic news here. Orders for heavy trucks have taken another plunge. There was a false bounce off the bottom. They've already said, okay, the trucks are going to sell, but no, orders for the trucks have replunged, and people aren't buying them. You've got China is now buying soybeans from South America instead of the United States. They're trying to basically arrange to buy pork from somebody because there's got a huge shortage there. Meanwhile, 75,000 bank jobs have been cut. the auto industry cuts 100,000 industrial job cuts in Germany. So things are definitely not going good. Now, apparently, Japanese conglomerate Mitsubishi has blown billions of dollars on a jet that nobody wants. Nobody really wants. So it's not quite to the disaster of the 737, which has got its own problems here. But we're seeing new Silk Roads in action at China-Kazakh border, Central Asia, between China and Europe. It's bustling. So the new Silk Roads they're going active. Absolutely going active. And they're starting to ship goods made in China and made in Europe. And they can ship them back and forth for only 20% of air freight cost. That's a good idea here. Another story from Investment Watch blog. It's time to sell the NASDAQ and buy gold. And we know that gold is definitely going up. And it's now outdoing a lot of the stock markets. Apparently, Turkey's running this gold for gas scheme to evade U.S. sanctions on Iran. And they basically noticed these major odd exports of gold from Turkey to Iran in May of 2012. And Turkey's trade balance fluctuated wildly as gold stocks flowed out of the country in bursts. And Turkey's going to continue this. Those casting aspersions on the gold traders searching for immortality, they should take a look in the mirror. So apparently in 2014, we discussed Turkey's 200 tons of secret gold trade with Iran, detailing how a complex network that spanned Turkey, China, Dubai, and Iran was used to skirt U.S. sanctions on energy exports from Iran. So the operation featured an Iranian-born businessman who liked fast horses, faster cars, and the fastest plane. And his unique skill was getting gold into sanctions-encircled Iran. So it's out there. All right, we're going to do a shout-out now to our Honor affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. Alrighty. In case you were not aware of this, the Federal Reserve governors make between $346,000 and $466,000. More than $2 billion in total system-wide salaries. They're just raking the money in. Hundreds of banks and financial institutions lost millions of dollars due to malware. It's amazing that nobody seems able to deal with this crisis. Okay, over in Stockholm, elderly residents are being kicked out of apartments to make way for migrants. Dozens of elderly residents were forced to leave their apartments in an area of Stockholm after the block was closed, only to be reopened again for migrants to replace them. Residents at Dana Garden were told they would have to leave because the toilets in the facility were 5 centimeters too small to comply with regulations. However, soon after the 48 apartments were emptied, they were filled with newly arrived migrants. It was later revealed that politicians planned that immigrants would instead move into the premises. In 2015, Sweden accepted more refugees per capita than any other country, and despite worsening problems with sexual assaults, grenade attacks, and violent crime, the inflow shows no sign of being seriously restricted. Apparently, Germany is out there insisting that all EU members must take in migrants. They're just pouring them on in there. All right, apparently a gang of 4 Muslim men attacked a Christian street preacher in Norway, kicking him in the face and threatening to kill him if he did not convert to Islam. 4 men approached Roar Flotum last week when he was preaching and praying for the sick on a street in Trondheim and asked him to come with them to pray over a friend who was injured. When they got him alone, they pushed him down a cellar staircase, beat him, robbed him, and threatened to kill him if he did not convert to Islam. As reported by the Observatory on Intolerance and Discrimination Against Christians in Europe, a Vienna-based watchdog group, I asked if they wanted to be prayed for, and one agreed, saying he had back pain. Amazing here. All right, German Interior Minister Horst Seehofer has unveiled a new plan to reform the European asylum system. A draft of the proposal leaked to the media shows that all member states of the European Union would be required to take in illegal migrants. Just pulling them on in there. All right, there was this video showing 3 people scaling a newly installed section of the U.S.-Mexico border wall with only a makeshift rope ladder. It was making the rounds on the internet. It turns out the video is a hoax. And ICE has basically come on out and said, no, it didn't happen. They just sort of faked it all. All right, there's this college advisor accused of using Nazi slogans, meaning the numbers 14 and 88 in email, really. And the advisor apologizes profusely for the mishap. So there's this University of California, Santa Cruz graduate student advisor was accused of placing Nazi slogans in an email, part of a phrase that included the numbers 14 and 88, and the advisor was apologetic for what amounted to a big misunderstanding. Once again stemming from students jumping to conclusions before all the facts were in. Now, the advisor in November sent an email reminder to graduate students, Campus Reform, adding that the email subject line reads, all grads 14 of about 88, please note the upcoming university deadline. Now, for some reason, the numbers 14 and 88 are considered equivalent to Nazism. And apparently the number 14 is a reference to 14 words, which is a reference to the most popular white supremacist slogan in the world. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. I think this is a classic case of somebody overreacting. Just absolutely overreacting. All right, over in Virginia, as you're probably already aware, they've passed a whole new bunch of laws against gun ownership. And over in Tazewell County, they have basically set up a Second Amendment sanctuary, and along with that, they formed their own county militia. And apparently there was this huge cheering from a crowd that overflowed the 189-seat boardroom. So they're pulling out the militias. All right, everyone got offended by a commercial for an exercise bike, and the outrage is insanely stupid. This is a commercial for Peloton. And the commercial basically starts with the husband giving his wife a Peloton exercise bicycle. And this just triggered off, easily triggered off. And the commercial's been called sexist, dystopian, disturbing, creepy, and bizarre. It's also unsettling, confusing, and so perplexing that he incensed the internet. Some only said it angered the internet because, look, let's not be dramatic about this. So they're accused of body shaming, and I mean, the commercial itself is very, very simple. There's this woman who gets this bicycle from her husband, and she documents herself using the bike over a period of many months. The ad closes with the husband and wife sitting in their living room while watching the video of the wife's fitness journey. That's it. That's the end. That's the whole commercial. And just a huge, outrage. Just a huge, huge outrage here. All righty. Apparently, academics are being hounded out of jobs for transgender wrongthink. And the culture of fear on many of our campuses comes from many factors. One of the greatest is faculty who speak out are deplatformed in the old school way, meaning they're terminated. The rise of social media has made this much worse, as now faculty find themselves under attack for things they say off campus, on a web page, or even a personal text. Once blasted out of academic life, they're pretty much silenced unless they happen to have a huge following, but surviving long enough to get such a following is pretty difficult. Whatever happened to First Amendment? Okay. Back over in Virginia Beach City Council's agenda, they're also setting up a Second Amendment sanctuary, and a huge number of supporters showed up for that one, to the point where the fire marshal had to ask dozens upon dozens of people to step outside the building. That left a sea of supporters outside Virginia Beach City Hall. New study by ATF. There are 423 million guns in the hands of Americans. That's a lot of guns. That's definitely a lot of guns. And apparently Americans own almost 18 million AR-15s and other modern sporting rifles. That's a lot of those guns as well. Now, the EU government opposes a proposed law that would stop pedophilia. And what they're really talking about here is a law that would block teaching of certain sexual subjects to children. And they're saying this is how we're going to stop pedophilia by not having these courses being taught. And 471 members of the European Parliament voted to condemn Poland's Stop Pedophilia bill. Those leftists and powers claim the bill violates human rights because the bill supposedly criminalizes sex education to minors. So as a measure of how dumb we have become, Chinese students are 4 grade levels ahead of U.S. students in math. This article is asking a very simple question. How in the world is America to remain the greatest country on earth when other nations are absolutely running circles around us when it comes to education? One survey found that 15-year-old students in China are almost 4 full grade levels ahead of 15-year-old students in the United States in mathematics. This is one of the most damning indictments of our education system that we've ever come across here. And a big part of the problem is Common Core. And so there's this article here on how Common Core graduates are the worst prepared in 15 years. They're poorly prepared for college. They're poorly prepared to advance. It's just not there. Oh. We've already mentioned this once before, but it bears repeating, because this time we're talking the World Health Organization. Before it had been Johns Hopkins, now it's the World Health Organization, basically saying medical errors are the third leading cause of death in the United States. First leading cause is cancer, second one is heart disease, but apparently, and you don't see this in the corporate media, but apparently the third leading cause of death in the U.S. is medical mistake. Now, hospitals have started to sue the federal government, meaning the Trump administration, to keep their prices secret. This was a big situation where Trump wanted the prices of medical procedures made public so that customers and patients could look at what was going on and what it was going to cost before they went on in. But the hospitals are now suing the federal government to say, no, we have to keep our prices secret. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials and we'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking about, well, a bunch of different things here, including the IG report, which does confirm that Brennan lied through his teeth about the Steele dossier. He fibbed, just absolutely fibbed here. Now, despite what the corporate media tells you, there is no scientific consensus on the safety of GMOs for our health and the environment. It's just not there. And there's it's dangerous stuff. And they keep putting it in our food, keep forcing it at us. Apparently over at Tesla, they had a little bit of an oopsie where one of the Tesla trucks rammed a police cruiser. Meanwhile, Tesla drivers are forced to wait up to an hour in long lines to charge their vehicles. And this is happening out in California. Drivers of all electric Tesla vehicles in California waited as long as an hour to charge their vehicles over the holiday weekend, leaving many wondering why they weren't told in advance about the potential for delays. And apparently, according to video from Kettleman City, location of one of the country's biggest supercharging sites that feature up to 40 chargers, drivers were queued up in a line about a half-mile long. That's a very, very long time here. All righty. The USDA is now allowing glyphosate to be used in organic hydroponic food production. Glyphosate. And they're going to put it in these organic hydroponic food productions. Now, the World Health Organization classified glyphosate as a Group 2A carcinogen, and people started getting justice from the company whose products caused their cancer. And Monsanto, now Bayer, has been under massive scrutiny. And I can imagine right now Bayer is having a bit of buyer's remorse for having bought that here. All righty, Jeremy Clarkson, and television presenter, was down in Australia promoting the latest season of the Grand Tour, and he just doubled down on his criticism of the climate change campaigner, and he told mad and dangerous 16-year-old Greta Thunberg to go back to school and shut up. Jeremy Clarkson can be a very, very sharp-tongued, But on the other hand, I can see his point of view. Greta Thunberg is out there pushing this nonsense about global war. He came out there and he said she's mad and she's dangerous and she's causing young children sleepless nights with her idiocy. So I think she's a weird Swede with a bad temper. Nothing will be achieved by sailing across the ocean in a diesel-powered yacht and then lying about the diesel engine. That's the latest Greta Thunberg scandal. She sailed across the ocean in this yacht. It turned out to have a diesel engine. So how is that friendly to the environment here? Anyway, since climate change alarmism has flopped, the same scammers are now toying with a new phrase they hope will sound more urgent. And apparently they're out there saying we need to scare more people into voting for liberals. We need these folks to understand the severity of what's happening to the planet and inspire them to make more eco-friendly life choices and pro-climate choices at the ballot box. In that spirit, two of his top choices for the new scare tactic is global meltdown and global melting. So snow is falling on the Australian Alps on the second day of summer, and it's the first week of summer down there, down under, and rather than sunshine and heat, it's snowing. Many parts of Victoria have shared through a cold and wet start to the hotter months when snow blankets the Alps, leaving Victorians reaching for their winter woolies. Falls Creek and Hotham Alpine Resort in Victoria and Perisher Ski Resort in New South Wales all saw significant dumps of snow this morning, with falls of between 15 centimeters and 30 centimeters recorded. Okay, and apparently Australia broke the record for the coldest summer day on record. We're going to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. Let's go to Tom in Florida. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Michael, good day to you. I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Feeling better. You got it. Look, Michael, first off, I want to talk about, it's basically what's going on. Basically going on with Trump is it's basically a Jew coup. This is basically a Jew coup that's trying to get the president out of power. I don't know what he did. He's helped Israel out quite a bit. I mean, he moved the capital. What's going on here is just a coup against the president of the United States. Let's not kid ourselves here. You got this Adam Schiff has been to this guy Ed Buck's mansion 16 times. You got this Weinstein guy, whatever he was doing. And I don't know if you got a chance to see Jesse Waters, Michael, Saturday night when he had the guy from Miami, the detective on, was interviewing the pilots for Epstein.
Yes.
And this guy's basically saying Clinton's been to the island 26 times on the plane. What do they call the plane? There's a name for the airplane that Epstein has.
The Lolita Express.
Right, Lolita Express. And exactly. So this guy's saying, well, Hillary never really was on the plane. She might have went to the island some other way. But you got this Prince Andrew and all these pigs, getting these 13, 14-year-old, 15-year-old girls. I mean, come on. And, Michael, this whole thing was going on with Trump. I really believe it all starts from Obama. How is Obama affording a $17.5 million home in Martha's Vineyard? What's going on with that? And then you got this AOC and this Tlaib Nasheed and what's the other one? Emar. They're talking about campaign funds. They're kicking Duncan Hunter out of Duncan Hunter's going to jail next month.
Yes.
You know about that, Michael?
Yes.
Well, what about Cortez and all these other demon rats? Why aren't they going to jail? They did the same thing this guy Hunter did. Biden. I mean, Hunter Smith, Duncan Hunter, whatever. They did the same thing. And also, Michael, you had a caller on there talking about the debt of the world debt, which in $200 trillion and all that. Well,
yes.
Matter of fact, on Breitbart today, they were talking about $60 billion has gone out of the United States to Central America, never to come back. These people are not coming here to speak English. They want to speak their Hispanic, Spanish. But here, Michael, let's look at this. Now, I'm going to give you a fact. In Cuba, there's not 1% of the population of women drive a car. And Puerto Rico is maybe 20%, and in Mexico maybe it's 25% of the women in those countries who drive a car. Now, they all want to come to the United States to drive cars. And so AOC and all these demon rats talk about global warming, the economies, the world's going to blow up in 12 years because from the fossil fuels. Well, these people have to come to this country to consume. They're like locusts. They're not coming here. They're devouring our energy sources, and they're devouring everything. Because in their own countries, they're basically riding bicycles. Here, they're coming there. They have to have a car. You have to have them air conditioning running 24 hours. They want all the luxuries of life in the United States, which they did not have in their countries. So, of course, they're going to come here. Venezuela. I mean, come on. This is insanity. And, let's get to the real bottom of this issue. It's the Jews, the Zionists, who want this annihilation of North America. They want the annihilation of this. Look what's going on with Trump. That doesn't tell you the whole story. I don't know what will. They're trying to impeach a president for making a phone call because he's trying to find out about corruption with Biden's son, Hunter. This guy's made millions of dollars. And the old man's basically on tape saying, well, we're not going to give them nothing until they fire this guy. I mean, come on, Michael. And this is nuts. And they're going after Trump. And Trump's a radical, and he's all this. All the filthy names are deplorable. They're despicable. And they've allowed sanctuary cities, which is, like you always say, these people need to be arrested. And Trump, I don't know, I guess he can't do nothing. I guess the dark angels have got him so controlled, it's like being a dead horse here. Because I don't see him being able to do anything about this. You have, according to One American News Network, there's 27 million illegals in this country. Almost 8 million of them live in California, Mexifornia. The richest state in the United States for 100 years, and now it's in destitution. It's insane. And white Americans, Michael, it all starts with these school systems. The school, they have dummied down, like you said about Common Core, they have dummied down these American kids so bad it's disgusting. And you're talking about Chinese kids are way smarter than American kids. That wasn't happening 30 years ago. So Richard Nixon went over there opening up the bamboo curtain. They were all on bicycles. Now they're all having super highways. They have better highway systems than we got. I mean, we're becoming a third world kid next to China. Why is that, Michael? Hello?
Yes, you're absolutely right. China has built itself up. It's got good technology. It's got good highways, and our country's just being allowed to kind of rot on the vine. Again, the money's all been spent on the wars, and we don't have anything to work with anymore.
Well, Michael, I'm going to get off this subject real quickly, but that one guy called in again today saying, Curtis LeMay would have started World War III. Hey, listen, if they would have listened to Curtis LeMay, you wouldn't have 35 countries on that right now with nuclear warheads, okay? You wouldn't have all this proliferation with nuclear missiles and all these countries going rogue. If they would have listened to LeMay and he'd have knocked out Cuba, the Russians would have got the message, and all these other countries would have realized the United States is top dog when it comes to nuclear warheads. But now everybody's got nuclear warheads, it almost seems. It's insanity. Yes. So I don't get what that guy keeps a hit on LeMay for, as far as saying LeMay would have started end of the world. I don't believe in that. I do not believe that in one bit. But, everybody's got their own opinion, so, opinions are like, what? So everybody's got one. But listen, Michael, as far as what's going on with immigration, Donald Trump right now should be running ads how much money that's going out of the United States never to come back. The gang problem. Michael, did you see on Breitbart about all the Africans at the border now from Africa?
No, I didn't.
It's on Breitbart. Did you have a chance to see that? Yo, they're coming in by the thousands. They're on the border. They're coming from Africa. And guess where they're putting them, Michael? North and South Dakota. Look at the story.
Okay.
They're bringing in thousands of people from North and South Dakota. And let me ask you a question. Why are you bringing all these Somalians and all that into Minnesota and Portland, Maine? Why is that? What is that? What is the reason for that? They're coming from the hottest part of the world to a place where it's freezing. Is there a reason for this? Sortero Obama, Barry Sortero, is that what he wanted or something?
Well,
some kind of reason for this?
They got to put him someplace. I think that's the thinking is they
Well,
got
why
to
don't
put
they
him
put him in
someplace.
California? Why can't they go to California, Michael? Southern California, right there in L.A. San Francisco. Why did they put him over there in those states? Put him over on the West Coast and take all those illegals and stick them up there with Blumenthal and Bernie and Pocahontas. Stick them in those states. All these illegals. That's what Trump needs to really do. He's got to enforce that law. Say, hey, listen, you're coming here. You're going to those New England states where all these liberals are at, and we're going to stick them right there in New York, New Jersey, all those New England states. Stick them right in there. Get them out of the Southwest. Because you're going to have a bigger problem. You're going to have a major problem with that right now. You're just talking about the cartels. That's another major problem. That's got to stop. These people are not coming here to compliment. They're coming to eat the lunch and take your job. And I'll tell you one thing that Americans better start realizing. They better try to go get some of these federal government jobs that all these illegals are trying to get.
Yes.
You know, you're going to bring a guy in here who's only been here 2-3 years. You're going to give him a federal government job, but all these Americans are crying, they ain't got no work. You can't find a good job. Hey, go get a job in solid waste. Go get a job at water sewer department. Go get a job somewhere in one of these county positions. You understand?
Yes.
Get a government job. Not let some illegal come in here take these jobs from you. They're making $60,000-$75,000 a year to start. It's insanity what I see. It's insane. And these people are not coming here to say, oh, I love your culture, because they sure the hell don't love your culture. They want to take over your culture. And everything, like you always point out, Michael, it's always the white man's fault. Blame the white guy. It's always his fault. Well, why all these people want to come here and live with a white man then? Why do they want to live under a white man's rule? They don't like it. Get out. Leave. And, you have this one guy talking about, from the day that Trump got elected president, this guy Green was talking about impeaching Trump. The guy that looks like Mr. Magoo. Now, this guy Magoo, Green, this guy, you talk about a racist. This guy's with a picture of Louis Farrakhan and Barry Sortero, Hussein Obama, and they had the picture of that and Mitt Romney, whatever that creature is, that guy. And I'll tell you one thing, Michael. I guarantee if this goes to the Senate, that guy Romney, don't be expecting him to help the Republicans. Ain't no way. Not Romney. He's a freak out, freak show. He's a very bitter man, very bitter person. And this guy Green's talking about impeaching Trump from the first day, and keep impeaching him. This guy said, "Well, if you don't impeach him this time, we'll keep impeaching him." What is that crap, Michael? What is this guy? Look, what doesn't that guy Green go down to Cuba or go to Haiti and see how you like it over there? If you have such a hatred for this country, leave. Nobody's telling you to stay here, Green. You have such a hatred for the United States of America and the President of the United States. Duly elected president, by the way. Over 63 million votes voted for him. And this time it's going to be more. What they're doing to Trump is it's a coup.
Yes.
It's a schmuck coup. That's all we can tell
Yes.
you. Immigration is going to destroy this country. We're going to end up like Bosnia and Herzegovina. Guarantee it. I see it all around me. Nobody wants to keep the English language. I mean, this is nuts. What's happening? And it should never have been allowed. Like I told your show months ago, there's over 120 million Germans, 110, 20 million Germans in this country. You don't see them all going out saying, I'm going to speak in Deutschland. If they did that, we would have not a country. We would be in a civil war. Would we not?
Quite possibly.
Quite possibly. And believe it or not, during the Continental Congress, we were only one vote away from making us a German-speaking country. Did you know that?
I was not aware of that.
Yes, you can check it out. It was one vote away. It was one vote from being a German-speaking country instead of an English-speaking country. Sure was. That was in the I believe that was in the Continental Congress when they were going to take a vote for what language they were going to make the United States. I can't remember exactly what date that was, but I have to archive it. But, yeah, what's going on now with this. I call it, like you say, Michael, this is an inquisition against Trump. This is exactly what this is. The inquisition of a president of the United States. And, you're going to have other callers. Oh, what is Trump? Trump hasn't done that much, but he's done enough, in my book. He hasn't done enough with immigration, but he's done enough as far as other things. But, Look, right now, gas down here in South Florida is $2.17. I don't know how long that's going to last. I'm surprised that it's that cheap here at this time of the year. I haven't seen it this low in years. $2.17 for regular gas here in South Florida. So that's pretty impressive to me, especially being in the month of December. So I don't know. It's they're talking about impeachment. Trump was on a phone call with a Ukrainian president. The guy said there was no quid pro quo. And then you got what kind of crap are these people throwing up on Trump when you got this guy Schiff going to this guy Ed Buck's house 16 times? Let's look at Ed. Where's the record on this guy Schiff with Ed Buck? The guy that's indicted right now. And I'm surprised Comey hasn't gotten indicted yet. I really am. Comey's wife was a big Democratic donor. Did you know that?
Yes, that I knew.
She was a big Democratic donor, going out saying all kinds of stuff against the Republicans. I mean, it's disgusting. I tell you, Michael, the only thing I can say is Adam said it best when he became president after Washington. With the gun, you're a citizen. Without a gun, you're a subject. And that's exactly we're trying to take our guns away. They're going to turn us all into subjects. This place is going to end up like Cuba. And like I said, Michael, when you go to Cuba, you will not see one female driving a car over there. Unless she's maybe a Communist Party official. You're not going to see no regular, ordinary Cuban female driving a car over there. I've been to Tijuana years ago. When I've been there, I was there like back in the late 80s. I didn't remember seeing any women driving cars in Tijuana. So that was like back in 1987 I went over there. And I remember you could go over there and you could get leather goods for peanuts. Now you go over there, you forget it. You go to Tijuana now, forget it. You could go back there in the 80s and buy a belt, a wallet, and leather boots for like $30. Not now. So this is all like I said, these dirty politicians we got in here in this country it's disgraceful. It really is. It is. But Michael, what really bugs me to this day is that when I saw that article about Mitt Romney had an opportunity to buy a picture with Obama and Farrakhan and Al Green and Maxine Waters, and he didn't buy that picture. I don't know why he didn't buy that picture. You have any idea why he wouldn't do that?
It was obviously a big mistake.
It was 3 weeks before the November election. It was 3 weeks before. So it was, matter of fact, it was in the month of October that Romney had opportunity to buy that picture. You'd have to archive the story, but he had that picture. It showed Farrakhan, it showed Al Green, it showed Obama, and Maxine Waters all together, hugging each other. And if Romney would have got that picture, I really believe he would have won that election in 2012. It would have been really tight. And the media never would run with that story. I wonder why that was covered up. Could you imagine if it was reversed? If that would have been Trump with some kind of a radical guy? Can you imagine if it would have been the other way around with Trump?
Yep.
Yeah, he wouldn't. It would be unrelenting against Trump. But since it's Obama, Sortero, they let it slide. Which I know his father was Frank Marshall Davis. There's no doubt about it. And he was in Hawaii. Frank Marshall Davis was in Chicago and Hawaii. I read the whole story. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the media covered that up big time. Same with, and by the way, the other guy in that picture was Reverend Wright. That's who it was. Jeremiah. So, this whole thing against Trump, this is a coup out of, the zoo. And come on, this is all nonsense. And what they've done with this immigration problem, taking over whole cities. Michael, just think about this. I want to leave you with just one fact so your audience listens real well. Dade County and Broward County are down to less than, in Dade County, it's 10% Anglos left. Broward County is around 45% Anglos left. Now, you don't tell me if that's not a modus operandi for what their senses are. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
Fill it up like a bottle, watch it explode.
Tom, I got to put you on hold. Got to take a break for commercials, and we'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're talking with Tom in Florida. And Tom, kind of need you to wrap up here because we've got more things to talk about in this program. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael, I want to talk about the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. He just said that the Saudi government should pay for these victims that have been murdered by this Mohammed. And also, Ron DeSantis always came out yesterday, and he said if a sheriff in any state, any county in the state of Florida does not follow immigration laws, they will be arrested. Now, I want to know why that ain't a nationwide provision. That if you are allowing illegals to come to your cities, you will be arrested if you're not following federal immigration law. And that's what DeSantis is already proposing right now, that it should be nationwide.
I think it sounds like a good idea to me.
Said that Saudi Arabia should be paying for this. Excuse me?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, Michael, are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
I think it's a great idea. I think this is a great idea that DeSantis is trying to push Trump into doing, that this should be a nationwide effort, that any elected official that allows an illegal to be in this country illegally should be arrested and put in jail, himself incarcerated. Because DeSantis is right. And then you got the Saudis were training these people to fly our jet fighters and all that, and they're killing our citizens. And that young man that got murdered, he was a hero, they said, because he was able to warn him that this guy was going on a shooting spree. He saved a lot of lives, they said. I mean, just think what that family's going through, the family of that young man. Look at these angel mothers and fathers. Their families are going through. All these callers are calling. I haven't been there, but I know people who've gotten car accidents with illegal aliens, and they're just destroyed. They're destroyed, Michael. These people shouldn't be here in the first place, but they're coming in here by the millions, and this is anarchy. This is what I'm looking for. The word is anarchy, what's going on with our politicians. Yes. Pelosi, all these demon rat, telephony politicians should be put in jail, locked up and put in jail. Every one of them. And I want to see Trump finally, after this impeachment nonsense is over, I want to see him throw down the gauntlet. And that's it. You're going to jail because you broke law. You let millions of illegals come into this country pouring in here to vote. This is all about the vote, man. You got that moron Biden, that his dentures are falling out of his mouth. That guy's an idiot. He'll be almost 80 years old if he can become president, that moron. Can you imagine a guy like that as a president, that bumbling buffoon? It'd be a joke. And they got Pocahontas, and now Michael, you know how much Pocahontas made off that deal with the schools? She made over $2 million. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I did.
Claiming she's an American Indian. Now, why isn't she being arrested? That's quid pro quo. Why isn't Pocahontas being arrested for swiping $2 million from the taxpayers of this country? And that's like me going to a federal job and saying, I'm American Indian, but I got half black in me, so give me the job. I deserve the job. What kind of nonsense is this, man? And Pocahontas now she's apologizing. Come on. Yeah, you apologize like Martha Stewart. Go to jail. Anyway,
all right, well, Tom, we're going to let you go here. We got another hour to get through the show here. And so we'll be right back. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. And the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we were talking about the very cold weather that has hit in Australia. Now, this is their summertime. But they've already set a whole bunch of cold weather records. Australia's lowest summer daily maximum temperature record was broken this week. Talking about this surge of unseasonably cold air swept over southeastern Australia during the opening days of summer. The air mass produced thick snow in parts of Tasmania, Victoria, and New South Wales, and held daytime temperatures as much as 15 degrees below average in some places. So the lowest temperature measured during the opening days of December was -4 degrees in Tasmania's Mount Wellington early on Wednesday morning. And this was Australia's lowest summer temperature in 4 years. So it's definitely getting cold down there, just as it's starting to get cold up here. Now, there's a Danish professor that is out there saying that the United Nations could use the military to enforce the climate change agenda. And basically what this guy is saying is you're going to have the military come on down and enforce the climate agenda on ordinary people. Alrighty, getting on to computers and such here. Apparently, Avast and AVG browser extensions are spying on Chrome and Firefox users. And if your computer has any of the below listed 4 extensions offered by Avast and its subsidiary AVG installed, you should disable or remove them as soon as possible. And that would be Avast Online Security, AVG Online Security, Avast Safe Price, AVG Safe Price. Because these 4 widely installed browser extensions have been caught collecting a lot more data on the millions of users than they intended to, including your detailed browsing history. Now, most of you might not even remember downloading or installing these extensions on your web browser, and that's likely because when users install Avast or AVG antivirus on their PCs, the software automatically installs the respective add-on on the user's browsers. Just getting it out there here. The FBI is now recommending that you keep your Internet of Things devices on a separate network. You should have a separate Wi-Fi network, different from the one you're using for your primary device, such as laptops, desktops, and smartphones. And it says your fridge and your laptop should not be on the same network. Keep your most private, sensitive data on a separate system from your other IoT devices. And apparently, this is advice that has come on out by multiple IT and security experts. Alrighty. There's a new ransomware attack. It targets your NAS devices and backup storage. Once deployed on a system, the malware will usually encrypt files or full drives, issue its victim with a ransom note, and demand payment in return for a way to decrypt and restore access to locked content. There's no guarantee that paying up will result in decryption, but many will do so rather than lose their files, and in cases where crucial systems have been locked, such as at government bodies or healthcare providers, there's additional pressure to return to normal operation as quickly as possible. All right, Huawei is planning to sue the FCC over the latest U.S. ban. And apparently, Chinese manufacturing giant Huawei is still at loggerheads with the U.S. government. The company is still enduring the ban from the government, but more bans are still coming. Recently, the Federal Communications Commission banned U.S. telecommunications operators from using government subsidies to purchase Huawei telecommunications equipment or services. Did not go down real well with the company. Recent reports are claiming the company is planning to file a lawsuit in the New Orleans Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals this Friday. Now, another issue that's become a problem is keyless technology in modern cars. And apparently, more than 14,000 premium models were stolen between January and October this year, according to analysis of insurance claims by Direct Line. That's more than double the amount over the same period in 2015 and means a luxury vehicle is stolen once every 38 minutes on Britain's road. And police and insurance firms believe the rise is partly because modern keyless cars provide easy pickings for thieves. So we have to take a look at that. We have a keyless system on our cars as well. Okay, over in Buffalo, New York, the Catholic Church in America is suffering yet another in a series of seemingly never-ending crisis stemming from the church's rampant mishandling of sex abuse and misconduct claims. And finally, it looks like one of the biggest problems for the church's image in New York State has just stepped aside. The New York Times reports that Bishop Richard Malone of Buffalo has resigned after weeks of pressure from inside and outside his diocese, which is one of the largest in the U.S. with 600,000. Apparently, he's been a very, very naughty boy. And let's see. Alrighty. Apparently, Vodafone in New Zealand has switched on its 5G service at 100 sites in parts of Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, and Queenstown, making it the first of the big three phone companies to offer the fast new technology to its mobile users. And the carrier also has 20 5G cell sites, they're called cows, which will be deployed to holiday hotspots and events over the summer. So all Vodafone plans are now 5G enabled for free, although a $10 premium will be charged for the service starting in June. So, all right. I mentioned this one before. There is no scientific consensus on the safety of GMO for our health and environment. All righty. Apparently, the Obamas have just bought themselves a new house in Martha's Vineyard for $11.7 million. It's a lot of money. It's definitely a lot of money. Okay. We already talked about Schiff is implicated in the phone records spying misconduct. These callers are right. It is a coup. It is a coup against President Trump here. Alrighty, central banks are cutting at the fastest rate since the financial crisis. Deutsche Bank is still in decline. And so apparently Donald Tusk, former European Council president, shared the shocking image of him making a gun gesture and pointing it to the back of an unsuspecting President Trump on Twitter. And we've already seen this. But it's considered very, very, very tacky. Okay. Videos showing how Joe Biden once praised an alleged neo-Confederate group as full of many fine people. And ready? Apparently, Google has been caught helping communist China infiltrate Silicon Valley and control the U.S. tech giants. We already talked about CNN's ratings plummeting to the lowest point in almost 3 years. And apparently, Bernie Sanders snapped back at an accusation from failed 2016 Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton that his delayed endorsement cost her the 2020 election, sniping, "I'm sorry that Hillary Clinton is rerunning 2016. It's amazing here. Little article here from Strategic Culture, preparing the stage, a flawed prospectus for war, this time with Iran. Okay. Apparently, Bernie Sanders has been forced to fire a new staffer after another scandal emerges. Kellyanne Conway shuts down elitist snob Pam Karlan with epic takedown. And apparently Elizabeth Warren is using a technicality to keep claiming that she doesn't do big dollar fundraisers. Okay. Democratic candidate Marianne Williamson makes a false claim about Trump, gets grilled online. And got the donation scheme. Phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And Trump apparently is catching some fire for attempting to defend the Saudis after the deadly shooting at Pensacola. And he was out there trying to defend the Saudi government following the shooting. A lot of people have stepped on in and said, no, that's really not appropriate here. Apparently, a youth minister slaps a horrified female reporter on the behind during a live broadcast at a 5-kilometer run before Twitter sleuths track him down and race organizers ban him. A apparently horrific moment, man, 26, in reindeer slippers, dumps woman out of her wheelchair in a bid to steal it before heroic passengers come to her rescue. I mean, that's got to be pretty tacky, stealing somebody's wheelchair. Okay, apparently Buttigieg was caught explaining to a 7-year-old girl that killing unborn babies with abortion is okay. I don't think so. Nadler is out there saying a jury would convict Trump in 3 minutes flat, saying that a vote for impeachment is possible this week. So we'll see what happens with that one. Omar Navarro's been arrested for extortion, stalking, criminal threats of GOP congressional candidate. So apparently Gates explodes at an impeachment witness. You don't get to interrupt me. Tucker Carlson fires back at guest who says Kamala Harris was a victim of racism. Okay. Biden goes on defense as the next Democratic debate features all white candidates so far. ICE celebrates everyday heroes who helped set criminal arrest record. Apparently, another voter has confronted Elizabeth Warren over her phony Native American ancestry claims. And we got to hold her feet to the fire on that one. We already talked about Bill Clinton being on the airplane with the girls dressed as candy stripers. And article here saying Trump has already won. He's appointed 180 judges that will shape our laws for a generation. So apparently CBS has made a big deal of the story of the century on President Trump's salt and pepper shakers. Portland is out there saying that they're going to start forcing apartment owners to make room for homeless campers, whether they like it or not. And there's been a volcano eruption in New Zealand. I think it's called White Volcano. And it's left a lot of people dead. Invoking Nazis and the Underground Railroad, lecturer at Andrews University suggests students make their churches sanctuaries for illegal immigrants. And apparently a high school in New Jersey is offering a high school course on white privilege, brainwashing the kids to just start hating, as it were. All right. Biden compared to Trump after testy exchange in which he called an Iowa voter a damn liar and challenged him to a push-up contest. That would have been worth seeing. Okay. All right. NFL star Khalil Mack pays off 300 holiday layaway accounts at a Walmart in his hometown. That's a very nice thing to do. It's a very nice thing to do. All righty. Nadler lets the cat out of the bag on motive behind the impeachment, says the president poses a threat to our election. It's over on Meet the Press here. Biden apparently snapped at a reporter asking about his son Hunter, and Burisma said, "Come on, you keep asking me these questions." Okay. No calls yet. Fall of the Titanic, survivors of the Titanic. And again, this ridiculous article where the Democrats' impeachment position is that even though President Trump didn't break the law, he surely intended to, therefore he's guilty. All right, we got to take a break for commercials. Please join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We have a caller on the line, Sebastian in Sweden. Aloha, Sebastian. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, hello, Mike. Hope you feel better, get better soon, and hope the doctor.
I'm sure I will.
You know. Yeah. Well, I was just going to discuss the thing you brought up about the old people's home, the pensioners' home.
Yes.
It's happened in two places around in Stockholm, I would say county, or no, yeah. And then it's happened in several other places in Sweden. And they say that they have to redo the bathroom and all the water systems and the sewage systems. And then they just start foreigners start moving in, and they don't do anything. They just tried to fool the pensioners. But a lot of pensioners and their family are sort of fed up with this. And the reason why the Social Democrats are in power now is because of the pensioner vote. And a lot of them aren't going to vote for them next election, the ones that survive for the next election. So, we'll see what happens. And another thing I want to discuss, the Second Amendment sanctuary counties in Virginia is like, I think they're up to 40 now. And
Yes.
Only 2 have voted not to be a Second Amendment county. And I'm sure those counties in Northern Virginia, I'm not sure which ones they are now, but at least in Southside and Western, they're becoming Second Amendment sanctuaries. I know the government is different. The cities has to be as well, because the cities, they're not really in a county. It's their own. They have their own government.
Yes.
So they also have to vote. And there's a few small cities that's already voted. So I hope that goes well. It's my old state, Old Dominion. So
Yes.
you take care of yourself, Mike, and hope you get well soon.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And
One
we're going to
thing,
let you.
real quick, I'd like to bring up another thing that the police have passed a law. I mean, the government passed a law that was that the police wanted, saying that in the 1st of January, if anyone throws a brick or stone at a police vehicle and breaks the window, it could be lifetime imprisonment. But I doubt if they'll ever, But it's so I'm really happy about that, because it's, very seldom is a Swede throwing stones at police cars, and so we'll see how that turns out. Okay, take care, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And yeah, I have a hard time thinking about Swedes throwing rocks at the car, but lifetime in prison, that's definitely a little bit strict, I think. All right, so Representative Devin Nunes says he will pursue legal action on Adam Schiff's unlawful release of his phone records. And it's basically a huge stink over there. And Devin Nunes joined Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures this morning and basically said, yeah, Adam Schiff shouldn't have done this. He should go to jail for this, stealing the photos and the phone numbers, put them on out there. All righty, let's see. Apparently, the New York Times ran a hit piece on Alex Jones. Apparently, they're still very hostile toward InfoWars, and just want that to go away here. Jeff Bezos just threatened the Department of Defense. So, we talked about Bill Barr indicting 8 people here. And apparently, 3 Democrats have already signaled no vote on the sham impeachment. Only 14 to go to shut it down. And my last understanding is they have 9 Democrats are saying they're not going to vote for impeachment. So it's getting very, very tight out there. And let's see. Oh, another one from the global warming people. Your ugly Christmas sweater is killing the planet, says experts. And an environmental group in the United Kingdom wants you to think twice about purchasing and wearing an ugly Christmas sweater this year, because the sweaters, which usually feature decorations made from plastic and metallic fibers, are contributing to the spread of plastic pollution in the world's oceans and killing off seafaring wildlife. So that's another tacky no you're not supposed to do here. Only 19 senators are a firm no against impeachment. There are even some whispers Republicans may turn on Trump. Oh. Take a break for commercials. We'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go to the phones here to Jennifer, Grand Junction, Colorado. Aloha, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Mike. I want to let you know that we love you here in Grand Junction. And I'm just wondering your thoughts on what the goal is. What are they trying to get out of allowing the homeless to just camp on the streets? And what do you think the end goal is?
Well, I think the end goal is that to get them registered to vote Democratic.
You know, I'm an affordable housing property manager, and I've seen just such a bad turn recently.
Okay.
That was all. I was just wondering your thoughts on it.
No, my thoughts on it is that the illegal immigrants and the homeless are all going to be recruited as Democratic voters next year.
And then I can't I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me because just the crime and everything has just gotten so bad.
Well, it's a crime for illegals to vote in the first place. But you know, the Democrats are going to try and pull that off. I mean, we had something like 3 million illegal immigrants voting in the 2016 election.
I absolutely believe that. You know, when we moved here from California, I still get a California ballot.
Yep. Not surprised.
Yeah. It's just, everything's gotten pretty bad.
Yes, it has. It's gotten really seriously bad.
It has. And you know, one of the things that I see happening the most is people not willing to take responsibility for themselves.
That does get to be a bit of a problem. And that unfortunately is very much encouraged in our society, you know, to just...
Absolutely. You know, nothing's anyone's fault. It's everybody else made them do it.
Yeah.
But I still think that there's hope.
Well, I think what we're going to see is a collapse. And I think we're going to see that because that's the only thing that's going to save our country, for the whole thing to fall apart. Anyway, Jennifer, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Kevin in West Virginia. Aloha, Kevin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mr. Mike. I have a couple of things on my mind. The first thing was the previous lady was talking about the homeless. I'm aware, not only just in Austin, Texas, but places in Florida and in Georgia as well, they're microchipping the homeless. They're taking them from, they're just telling them they don't have to go to jail, receive this chip, they bust you in. And I want to say there's something more nefarious to this. Maybe, I don't know if these white vans have something tied in with the homeless too, but it seems like maybe organ harvesting is part of this. But it's definitely getting us rolling out this microchipping the populace or the population. I think it's a control grid. It's a control mechanism. You know, it put the infrastructure in. And I'm going to branch off into Elon Musk for a moment with Tesla. Everybody, you know, talks about how great Tesla and his electric cars and everything is. But I wonder if most think about this too, that, you know, maybe his job is to move the Overington window, you know, with Agenda 21, Agenda 20, getting everybody not only with smart cars, but, you know, he came out saying that he wants to implant, you know, brain chips, you know, in the malls, having a little procedure. But I wonder if his job isn't to make all of this tend to be more sexy for us, per se, to make us almost like predictive programming.
It could very well be. You know, the idea of microchipping the homeless, you know, it's going to be a way of tracking them and making sure that, you know, they're trackable, make sure that, you know, they've got the appropriate markings on them. But again, I think ultimately what's going on is they want to have the homeless and the illegal immigrants prepared to vote Democrat.
You think that's all it just is? It seems like why go all the trouble just to get somebody to vote one way? That's what I have a hard time wrapping my head around. Just for a vote? I don't know.
Well, you know, it's not just a vote. It's a lot of voting. And again, if you want somebody to vote a certain way, you know, chipping them is a good way to go. And I think it really is a case of tracking them, and keeping an eye on them and making sure that they do, in fact, vote a certain way.
Okay. Well, I hope you get better, Mr. Mike. I'm kind of have a cold too, but
Yeah.
I hope you feel better and give Miss Craig best.
I certainly will. I certainly will. Thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go. All righty. This is sort of related to what we were just talking about. Trump apparently wants to terminate NAFTA and replace it with USMCA, which appears to be UN's Agenda 2030 in disguise. So apparently, this document obligates the U.S. to follow UN Agenda 2030 and rule by unelected bureaucrats. We already talked about the Tesla hitting the police car, and holiday employment is down 3 million from Obama economy at the same time 5 years ago. So, according to Newt Gingrich, Nancy Pelosi deliberately and methodically lied to the American people on impeachment. Certainly true there. And a bunch of Marines were just caught purposely smuggling illegal aliens into the country. All right, so what's driving the decline in the goods-based sector after the boom of 2018? Well, we're out of money. It's really what it's all about. We're out of money. Democratic representative warns against letting the American people decide if Trump should be president. And apparently they don't trust us, know our own mind. Devin Nunes has also come on out saying that his phone records don't match the records in Schiff's impeachment report. And of course, Devin Nunes is going on out to basically seek legal redress against what happened there. All righty. On the Pearl Harbor anniversary, there were just 3 remaining survivors of the USS Arizona. And I do remember when I was there at the museum that's there on the island, meeting somebody who had survived the attack on Pearl Harbor and wasn't a member of the Arizona crew, but definitely was there. Okay. Democratic representative accuses Congress for sending subliminal message by calling an all-white panel of witnesses. Trump praises Salvation Army following LGBT backlash, calling it an inspiration to us all. Rachel Maddow's lawyer responds to a $10 million lawsuit filed by OAN by admitting she doesn't always mean what she says. In other words, NBC is fake news. Democrats doctored the video of Trump used during the impeachment hearing. Surprised about that. Apparently, the naval shooter hosted a dinner party to watch mass shooting videos before the fatal attack. It's just a little bit out there. It's just a little bit out there. Okay. Alyssa Milano complains about inappropriate Trump in ironically profane tweet. Tennessee's free college experiment proves it isn't the magic bullet Dems promise. Over at the CDC, they're saying 1.7 million people infected, 900 dead, calling this an alarmingly fast start to flu season this year. Apparently, Chipotle has nurses to ensure workers are really sick, not just hungover. Okay. And another report that Bill Clinton was on the numerous Epstein flights where underage girls were dressed like candy stripers. Remember that whole Bill Clinton thing, the bimbo eruptions? Uh, 50 officers raid a mental health hospital in Georgia after patient found in a freezer. And let's see. Simon Cowell instructs Hollywood lawyer as he's embroiled in racism storm after axed America's Got Talent judge Gabrielle Union claimed she was told her clothes were too black. Elon Musk has been found not liable in pedo guy defamation trial. And where they talked about Harvey Weinstein was misusing his ankle monitor. Add $5 million to his anyway. Non-farm payroll prints fourth largest spread via ADP on record. And they're calling this fear porn. Go get your shot. 1.7 million infected, 900 dead. Alarmingly fast start to flu season this year. Over in France, they're asking, who's laughing now, Macron? France is paralyzed by the worst nationwide strikes for decades, with schools shutting and public transport grinding to a halt as furious public sector workers protest pension reforms. Ocasio-Cortez takes a victory lap over Amazon jobs news, but the math does not add up. Okay. The government is now responsible for holding up the financial system every single day. If they don't do this, the interest rates would blow out and money would leave the stock market and go into savings accounts. And that's just not allowed. Now, Trump tells Nadler to stuff it, won't participate in the impeachment hearings. We already knew that one. Father wrestles gun away from home invasion suspect and uses it against him. Up in Alaska, a 5-year-old in Alaska carried a toddler half a mile in temperature 31 degrees below zero. All righty. Speaking of Pearson Publishing and Common Core, Obama gave Pearson Publishing $350 million to create the Common Core text, and Pearson, in turn, gave Obama a $65 million book deal in return. Okay. United States intelligence activities signed into law by Knight of Malta U.S. President Ronald Reagan on December 4th, 1981. This gives the CIA the legal right to traffic narcotics, which we know they've been doing awful lot. All righty. software engineer who exposed censorship of Christians on Pinterest, honored by Project Veritas with the Impact Award. The U.S. is in a great position in China trade deal thanks to President Trump. China needs the deal while the U.S. wins either way. Well, we'll see. It would be nice to have that happen here. Giuliani is out there saying the evidence will be released very soon. We'll recover billions stolen by crooks from the U.S. Democrats. And Hallmark Channel CEO says he's open to featuring more LGBTQP relationships in Christmas programming. Okay, we've got to take a break for our last segment, and we'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, last segment of our program today. And a lot of people are asking, how did Adam Schiff obtain phone records on Trump's attorney and ranking member Nunes? And did FBI Director Wray help him? Now, at this point, we know that what Nunes had doesn't match what Schiff had. So somebody somewhere made some changes or faked the phones, but there's going to be a lawsuit over this thing. All right, meanwhile, this mean-spirited teacher tells first graders Santa isn't real. This brought her entire class of children into tears, and the principal basically said the educator will never return to class. Terrible thing to do to the kids. Greece and Turkey closer to armed conflict. And apparently the family of a killed UPS driver, hijacked by armed robbers, is basically saying this was a botched robbery, and a violent police response to the robbery has come under fire by one victim's family. The high-speed chase ended in a shootout in which officers gunned down the robbers, but also a hostage and a bystander. Looks like Charles Schwab and TD Ameritrade are getting ready to do a merger. See what happens there. And we were talking before about the S-400 missiles being deployed to the Arctic for a dump, but apparently Russia is going to deploy the first S-500 batteries, will be deployed next year. So they're getting those things out there. The U.S. just became a net oil exporter for the first time ever. And let's see. Apparently, President Donald Trump has pedophile protector Pastor Brian Houston at the White House. Comedian's been fined $35,000 for an offensive joke. And question here, is Pelosi rushing impeachment because the Dems know they have failed? Could very well be the case. Fairly well be the case. All right. Virginia Sheriff promises to deputize thousands if necessary to defend the Second Amendment. This is not going away anytime soon here. And Canada loses 71,200 jobs, biggest drop in a decade. Apparently out in California, the flesh-eating bacteria is killing addicts. All right, there's the music. Time for me to get out of here. Please stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. And we'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.